If Jaxson Dart's going to be the starter, who fits better in that quarterback room as the mentor, as the backup, as the guy who's there to just make it all easier for Jaxson Dart? Between Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, which guy fits better? Where was Russ in that clip?
Yeah, no,
I didn't see
I hear
Russ.
you. Right. No, I hear you. Well, I mean, it seems like those three have a personality bond, right, where they're a little bit more fun, easy going, want to joke around, do stuff like that. Yeah, Russ is not that guy, right? We've had a lot of conversations about this through the years. I mean, Russ does not seem to be one of the guys all the time. I think a lot of Giant fans would tell you, if they said this was our three quarterbacks for this year, for the 2025 season, I feel like a lot would go, sounds good, let's do it, right? I know there's some out there that are excited about Russell Wilson, certainly, but the Giants and their quarterback situation, Jaxson Dart, what he did, how he looked in the preseason, when does he start, all that, it's one of the more interesting things going on in the NFL here, right before cuts. And will they keep all four? Or does DeVito go? Or does Jameis Winston go? Either way, the reason they can have fun and be cool there is because they know they did a good job and they're gonna land on their feet somewhere. So it's fun to see, and we'll see where it goes.
We know that there are several teams out there that aren't feeling great about their backup quarterback situation.
Right.
If DeVito were to be released, and then ultimately the goal would be to put him on the practice squad, if he gets released, does he get claimed on waivers and have to move out of mom and dad's house and go to Dallas or Minnesota or somewhere else? That would be my concern if I'm the Giants. Like, if I'm going to keep Russ, Jameis, Jaxson, cut DeVito's son to the practice squad, that might get interrupted by one of the other 31 teams. So
I don't think there's any doubt, Mike. Like, I don't think it. In fact, I think Tommy DeVito's played well enough and played good enough now to where he could get a trade market. Honestly, I memean, to me, the way Tommy DeVito's looked, he's gotten so many reps the last year and a half, 2 years. He's done well in preseason. You watch the game Thursday night or Friday night, whatever night that was. Either way, I mean, he's got physical ability. He's got backup quarterback / maybe a starter that can fill in here and there for an injured starter, I should say. That type of talent. His arm is real. I'd argue his arm is as strong or the strongest of any quarterback on the Giants. It's like that. So to me, he'd be somebody, if I was a team that needed a backup like you're talking about, Mike, he'd be a guy I'd be looking at to go, maybe we should trade for him. Maybe we should do something, because I don't think he's going to make it to practice squad. I'm with you there, Mike. I don't.
Well, then the Giants will have to ask themselves, do they carry 4?
Right.
Do they try to trade? And they said not that long ago they're not trading Jameis Winston. Does Russell Wilson become a potential trade target for another team and a guy that the Giants could try to move on from? He's got, if I recall correctly, and there's a chance I don't, $10.5 million base salary. I assume some of that was signing bonus. So he's the most expensive guy on the roster.
Right.
And if you're comfortable with Jaxson Dart, do you really need to have Russell Wilson around? A lot of it depends upon whether someone would trade for Russell Wilson, given his financial commitment, and he's got incentives that are all tied to playing time. So if he goes somewhere and he doesn't play, you don't have to worry about the extra money. If he does play, you're going to have to pay him. Oh, well, that's why he's there, to be ready to play if you would trade for him if your starter can't go. I just think that for as much as we're talking about the Browns possibly keeping 4 and the decisions they're going to have to make,
right,
I don't think that the Giants situation is being talked about enough, because if Dart's ready and DeVito is developed to the point where another team would pluck him off of waivers, you got a little bit of a mess with the Giants quarterback room, and you've got 53 roster spots that have to be locked in tomorrow at 4:00 Eastern. And maybe there's something the Giants are going to do between now and then, unless they want to burn 4 roster spots on that position and then leave themselves necessarily shorthanded at some other position with one less spot to go around.
Right. And I don't imagine that. I don't imagine them keeping 4. I think their situation, like we discussed a little last week, is different than the Browns, right? Because of the 2 rookie quarterbacks and a young quarterback in Pickett who's kind of in the prime of his career there, where I can understand them collecting them as assets right now. But as far as the Giants, yeah, they're in a little bit of a different boat. We know it's going to be Jaxson Dart's turn at one point. And I think, too, what you look at is, like your point about about Russell Wilson, I hear you all the way. I hear everything you're saying. But I think the only part we're missing is just that if you had to put yourself in Brian Daboll's shoes where this could be it for him and his ass is out of here if they don't do well or things don't look right and go in the right direction here, that's where I think Russell Wilson makes you feel warm and cozy at night. I think that's the big thing there. Where, okay, yeah, we got 3 other quarterbacks. We like them a lot, but like we've talked about a million times, Jameis Winston, you don't know what you're going to get. We might get one of the best games we've ever seen in our life, and the next week we see 4 pick sixes, and he throws, and it should have been 7 interceptions and whatever. And that's just not going to make coaches feel comfortable, too, especially if it gets to, wait, okay, we cut Russell Wilson. Jaxson Dart did pretty good, but, he started high-stepping and cut it into the middle of the field and got hurt a little bit. You're like a knucklehead, okay? Let's say he does that in the regular season. Now Jameis Winston comes in, and yeah, do they trust him to the same extent that maybe if they had to go to a Russell Wilson or whatever, or do they trust that formula that they could trust him with the ball and to do the right things? I don't know. I'm just putting myself in their shoes, but I could certainly see their thought process there, if that makes any sense.
And I don't know that Jameis Winston would do this deliberately, but when he uses 3 amigos, he didn't say 4. And, it's something that just kind of happens naturally. And we knew from the get-go which of the 2 guys between Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston was going to resonate with that locker room, because we saw what happened last year with the Steelers, and we saw what happened last year with the Browns. Russ was in Pittsburgh, Jameis was in Cleveland, and there's just a personality reality at play here. And how can you not factor that in to your assessment of the best collection of 53 players, not from the standpoint of football talent only, but just guys who are going to lock together, get along, and survive and thrive the ups and downs of a 17-game regular season. Those are all things that Joe Schoen, the GM of the team, in consultation with Brian Daboll, in consultation with John Mary, in consultation with others in the organization, are going to have to figure out. It's just not going to be an easy decision.
No.
The easy one is we'll keep them all. That's hard because it does tie sort of one hand behind your back at another position. And I don't think anybody ever envisioned they'd have 4 on the 53-man roster. But that's all of a sudden a spot that I'm paying a lot more attention to, because it sounds like the Browns are going to keep 4 unless they're just bluffing all the way until the end. With the Giants, I don't know what they're going to do. And maybe as of right now, 7:08 a.m. Eastern time, Monday, August 25, the Giants don't know yet either.
No, I don't know if they do either. I do think it's DeVito or Jameis Winston. One of them is out the door. You could probably demand more for Jameis Winston if you get the right team with a desperate situation, right? But, yeah, the 3 amigos, they certainly seem like they got a little bond there going together, right? I even felt like, I don't know if you saw during the game and even before the game, they've been doing this even in practice, right? Which I feel like means, like, call me, because they know one of them's gone. So they're like, yeah, hit me up. I'm going to get to go somewhere. Call me. Like, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there, but it seems like it. The other thing, too, that I think is just fascinating about this is Jaxson Dart's ready. I mean, he could play. He could start. I know I've made comments like I'm not wowed by his physical abilities. I'm not like, oh my gosh, what a laser throw. He's run better than I expected. I certainly will say that. But at the same time, the thing I am wowed by a little bit is he is a baller. The man knows how to play the game. He has a natural feel for the game that makes up maybe for the lack of the laser arm and the size and all of that. He's got incredible touch, anticipation. He's got good feel in the pocket, when to move, when to scramble. Of course, he's very accurate. So, like, he is ready, but it doesn't sound like the Giants are ready yet, and that's why they're going to ride Russell Wilson here in Week 1 against the Washington Commanders. But it's a good situation, Mike. Like you said, it's fascinating.
The Giants have already paid Russell Wilson $8.5 million.
Yeah.
Of his $10.5 million base package for 2025. That's a lot to eat, but also it's part of the trade value to the extent that someone calls, because you get Russell Wilson for $2 million. So you're going to get more from a team. This is part of what we see in a lot of trades now. For example, Brian Robinson traded from the Commanders to the 49ers. Commanders picking up $1.25 million of the $3.4 million salary as part of the 6th-round pick they're getting back. We see teams using cash and cap space to enhance draft pick compensation. Well, the Giants have already invested $8.5 million. You're dangling, if you are, Russell Wilson for $2 million because you've already paid the $8.5 million. You may be able to get more than expected from one of these desperate teams that are trying to fill out their depth chart with primarily a backup they can feel good about. Or the other game to play is a Kirk Cousins game where you just hold all 4 and you wait because somebody's going to get injured at some point and the phone's going to ring and maybe they're going to call. And you know what? You're going to get more when the team is desperate, just like the Vikings were 9 years ago when they gave up a 1 and a 4 for Sam Bradford. And Rick Spielman, the GM at the time, said, nobody's doing us any favors. Nobody feels bad for us. They're putting a thumb on the scale. They know we're desperate. Right. They're asking for more than this player would have been worth because they know we need to have someone. So those are all things to watch.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.